Hi guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to look at one of my desert roses. Um, these, let's see, I bought these probably a year and a half ago. And when I bought them, they were about this size. And this is one that I'm growing from seed. Started it last fall, and it's just kind of it's sprouted and it's kind of growing, but they kind of go semi-dormant in the wintertime. At least mine do, because I still keep them warm under some lights and stuff, but they still go dormant. They lose most of their leaves, if not all of them. So this growth here has just happened over the last couple weeks since they've been outside. Middle of April, and my trees have been outside now for 2-3 weeks. So they're starting to leaf back out. But anyway, so this one started the same size as this one about a year and a half ago. And it's been growing. I let it grow in a pot similar to this for a while, for several months, and then it got too big. And then I use these plastic bowls as kind of training pots. They're pretty cheap. And I put it in there and kind of let it grow over the winter. But as you can see, it's starting to push itself out of the pot. The soil's really mounded up, because when I potted this, the soil was a little bit below the lip of the pot. So it's just kind of pushing itself out. And this one's kind of neat, because it kind of pushed itself out. It leaned over, and then this was kind of growing back towards the light. So it put a nice little bend in it. Not sure what I'm going to do with this. I'll probably end up cutting that off. Not sure. But this one here is kind of it's a white bloom, but it's kind of a double bloom, but it's got ruffle edges on it. This one is one of my red and white ones, and I'll show you pictures what the blooms look like. But like I said, this one is a pure white. This one has a little red around the edges of the leaves, or the blooms. But anyway, so today I'm going to put this in a lot bigger pot, just so it has some room. And I don't think I'm going to cut a lot of the roots, because sometimes with these you can kind of cut the root and let the new roots grow back out, but it does set the plant back a little bit. So hopefully today we'll see what it looks like, but I'm hoping just to pull this out, maybe reposition it a little bit in the bigger pot, and then just sit it back in there without doing a lot of root work. And if you do any major pruning, root work, or anything, the sap on these can be harmful. So just kind of keep that in mind. When I do root work or do pruning where the sap will leak out, I usually wear rubber gloves. But like I said, today I'm not planning on doing any cutting, but if I decide to, I'll kind of pause the video and go get some gloves and do that work. But and anyway, and I've got this tag in here just to show that it's a white bloomer, because you can't really tell what's what. They look the same, when they're growing, until they start blooming, just so I can keep track of them. But so let's see if we can just lift this guy out of here. Yeah, looks pretty good. Like I said, these are just little bowls I picked up at Walmart for 50 cents. Drill some holes in the bottom. Perfect training pot. Yeah, so boy, the roots are kind of, because they grow, I don't know, it's kind of like a turnip or a potato or something. But yeah, not ideal, because they're kind of twisted around. Let's see. I still don't think I want to cut the roots off, though, because I want it to continue to grow so I can see some blooms this summer. So I'll probably just sit it right back into the pot, something like that, and let it grow. And once it gets bigger, I've got some desert roses now where the trunk is about this big around, and I bought those a couple years ago, and they were decent size, and I kind of flat bottomed the the trunk, you know, so I cut it. Take, you know, if this was like 3 or 4 times as big, I just basically took a saw and cut the bottom of the plant off, because those roots were really long, and because they were in a nursery container and they were all wound around in a shallower pot. So I root pruned it, cut it off pretty much flat, sat it back down in there and kind of let it grow new roots. But I don't think I want to set this one back yet. At this early age, I think I'll just let it continue to grow, like I said, so I can enjoy some blooms this year. But let me set this soil aside here so I don't dump it all over the place. And then get my pot up here. And once the desert roses get to a decent size where they're blooming and stuff, I like to put them in a nice glazed container if I can find some. So I've got one here that we'll use. It's got a nice little blue color to it, just interesting pattern. So soil. And I mentioned in the last couple of videos, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of repotting and mixing up soil, and part of the issue is my trees are getting bigger, so they take bigger pots, which take a lot more soil. Yeah, I just started growing desert roses. Might have been 4. And I've actually had some of my bigger ones go to seed and develop these little seed pods. And I've actually, like I said, this one is one that I'm growing from seed, and I've grown probably a dozen from seed. So it's kind of nice when you can actually keep them going. They do grow from cuttings as well, but they don't typically get the really fat root base like that. They just kind of stay straight. They will eventually get some roots and things where you can train them, but so you're basically starting with the cutting, which is flat here, and then the roots just start growing out. So the base really doesn't swell as much like this. So that's why I do like them better growing from seed, but you don't always have that option. And they, like I said, they will propagate just from cuttings. It's just harder to get that thick root base. So let me get this positioned in here, because I think I'm kind of forgot how deep the root base went down, so I might have put a little bit too much soil in here, but let's see how I want to get this positioned. I think something like that will work. Nestled in there a little more. Let's stand it up. I think something like that'll work. Get it nestled in there. So just hold it in place like that until it gets more soil. And if you kind of want to follow this tree along, or some of my other desert roses as well, just make sure you're subscribed, so when I post new videos about them, you'll be able to see them. Because I may end up root pruning. I've got another white one about the same size as this that I'll be repotting as well, but I don't know that I'll make a video because it's going to look pretty much the same as this one. Just a little bit different color pot and a little bit different shaped tree, but it won't be too repetitive on the video content. I think once you repot one, and if I get into something where I am going to do some root work or something different to it, I'll go ahead and make a video, but I'm anticipating it's going to be very similar to this one, where I'll just kind of slip pot it, bring it out, slip it into a bigger pot, get some fresh soil around it. Right now what I'm doing is just making sure all the soil's nestled in so the tree doesn't rock back and forth and move around. And at the end of this video, I will try to get some footage of my larger desert roses that I talked about. They're not flowering yet, but they're very close. They've got some buds showing on it. Like I said, I'll show you either now or towards the end, but they're just exciting to seeing everything kind of waking back up during the spring. At least everything's waking back up here in Texas anyway. I know some of you guys up north are probably still waiting a bit to get some tropical trees back outside, but it's right around the corner. Keep filling it up, and yep, like I said, a couple of these big repots like this, I'm gonna have to make some more soil. Seems like in the springtime it's never ending. You're repotting, making the soil, repotting, making more soil. But that's what it takes. Sometimes, making soil for me is kind of like meditation. You're just kind of sitting there sifting the soil. Not a whole lot to really think about while you're doing it. It's just something to do. Just kind of tamping the soil down, kind of aggressive. It causes some vibration, and it helps settle the soil in around the roots too. And because the tree really shouldn't wiggle, because it was wiggling there a bit earlier, but now it's pretty tight in there. I'm moving the whole table when I'm doing that now, so pretty sure the soil's pretty nestled around the roots. And if these are kind of like, if you watch my videos, I grow a lot of portulacaria, dwarf jades, and these are similar in care. So if you were going to do some heavy root work like root pruning and stuff, you wouldn't want to water it right away. You want to kind of let that callus over a little bit before you start watering it again. But since I didn't root prune, I'd be okay watering this, but these also can go days without water, so I probably won't water it again until my normal watering tomorrow. I've already watered my trees outside today, so I'll hit this guy tomorrow once once I water. Yeah, I think that's going to be just about it. And I do, when I'm planting my desert roses, I usually use round containers. It just seems to suit it better, just the way the trunk grows, and it's usually just a real fat trunk at the bottom. I just think they look better in round containers. Yeah, I think that is going to just about do it. Maybe a little bit more soil, just to cover up the roots there. Okay, I think that's just going to about do it. I will give you a spin around, but there's really not a, that's probably kind of the front, but we'll just give you a spin around here, just so you can kind of see it. And I think that will do it. And appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video.